Welcome back to WagerTalk.com. I'm Marco D'Angelo, joined this week in studio by the Sports Cheetah, Preston, and we're going to break down some college basketball games. No football action, no NBA this week. We've got the NBA All-Star break, but we're going to do a little NBA All-Star, some specialty stuff with Cheetah here in another video, but we're going to do some Friday night basketball. And Preston, we're going to break down UCLA and Arizona. And I got to ask you, your guy follows West Coast basketball. I know you're originally from LA and everything. The Pac-12 this year, would you say that this is more of everybody is that good that they keep knocking everybody off, or is it a case of everybody's just mediocre and they're knocking each other off? Because outside of Oregon, everybody else is right there, jammed together.
Yeah, if it's fair to say it's, I think, like an in-between spot. I think everyone is better than average. They're not mediocre, and so that's why they're knocking each other off. But they're not like 8 teams that can make a run in the tournament either. I think Oregon's a team that can, and that Arizona's a team that can. But ultimately, those are probably the only 2 that really could, I think, make a deep run. But you got to give a lot of credit to some of those teams that are starting to show up and make a difference in the conference as a whole from top to bottom.
Yeah, I think one of the teams, and we had talked about it on a podcast we did earlier this year with Scott. I like USC. Yeah. I think this is a team that at the end of the season, they're going to keep getting better and better, and I think they're going to be able to make some noise. But one of the surprise teams, and it's a surprise in the wrong way, is UCLA. They're going backwards in the conference. What do you make of what's going on with UCLA?
It's a good question because they've had some good wins too at home against Arizona. So this is a rematch Friday night coming up. They won. Bryce Alford hit a 3 late, basically at the buzzer to win by 3. So they've had some wins where you thought they were going to be there. I think currently right now they're probably not going to make the tournament unless they pick up a win against another Arizona win or make a deep run in the Pac-12 tournament. And so because of this recent slide, I personally didn't think this number when I was setting this up yesterday. I thought it would be single digits. Arizona was laying 3 on the road at UCLA. They lost. It doesn't mean much as far as the numbers go, but Alonzo Trier, their point guard, his first game back from an ankle injury, they had him in that first UCLA matchup. He's been out until Washington last week. He came off the bench and played limited minutes, and he has the same thing going for this game, limited minutes off the bench. So I expected this number to be single digits, and I liked Arizona kind of with that revenge factor. They're starting to play better, I think, personally. And I also looked at teams that have had over a week off. In this case, UCLA has. I think they played USC as 8 days prior to this game coming up. And in those cases, it tends to be that they're a little out of rhythm early, and they're not used to that routine of having a game every 3 or 4 days and having that competition. So I like the spot. And then the early opener today was like 11.5. And so I guess this is a good example for people from a handicapping perspective. When you're doing this stuff in advance, which you totally have to do, and you're prepping, you don't always want to force a play. So I'm no way or ever laying 11.5 with Arizona. If it comes back down, then it's something to keep an eye on. But I'm never going to force a bet, even though I liked it yesterday and I was expecting to get single digits. I'm not going to make a play on a bad number just because I like the spot. And so, maybe it's a good example for people out there that are trying to do this themselves and get better at it. You don't always need to, go with that early conclusion when you look at something later and you get the lines that are popping up.
Another analogy is like in poker. Don't fall in love with your pocket aces once
early on,
you start. Yeah,
after the flop comes.
Yeah, and you're getting some action and stuff. You got to be able to get away from it if it's not there. You talked about UCLA and being, this is the time of the year that we're going to start hearing the phrase, the bubble teams and everything. Really, I don't even know if you can make UCLA a bubble team at this point. They're at 13-10 for the season overall and just 4-6 in the conference. They're going to have to do a big run, I feel, the last 2 weeks here of the
I'm pulling up their schedule now in case anyone's wondering what I'm doing. But yeah, they play at Arizona State. Then they get Utah and Colorado at home, which are probably games they need to win before they go at Cal, at Stanford. But it's so, like you said, this conference is so good and deep. All 6 of those they could win, they could lose all 6 too. It's really tough to project right now where they're going to be.
So for our listeners, if we get this, where's your cutoff? Where you would make a play on Arizona?
I expected this to be more like 9, 8.5, 9. So I'm not going to be making a play unless it's around there because I think situationally it's a really good spot to play Arizona. I'm not going to trade 2.5 points for the situational spot. So I'm going to wait, see if it comes down some, and I'll jump in there.
Would you ever be considered with what you talked about with the 8 days, which is a great angle? I like to look at that too when teams have the extra time, maybe looking at a first half.
Absolutely. That's what I usually do in those spots is I play both. So for people that are wondering, I think that's a great example or a great point to make here as we wrap up. I'll usually either, if I like the play a lot, I'll play 3% or 1 unit on first half, full game, or I'll split it up if I don't like the play as much. It all depends really on the numbers ultimately.
All right, well, there you go. Cheetah says to take Arizona. If he gets his number, he'd like to get this at single digits, so watch the line on Friday, see what it actually comes out at. It's only at one offshore sports book so far. And don't forget, weekend all access, $69. You can get your favorite capper, get all of his plays Thursday through Monday. Get all of their plays for $69 only at WagerTalk.com. We'll be back with more videos here at WagerTalk.